Welcome back to Orange Hat Reviews, everyone. I hope you're all having a wonderful day. So, Warner Media boss Ann Sarnoff condemns toxic Snyder Cut fans, forgets they promote defunding the police and ending families. You see, folks, this is what happens when the hypocritical CEOs of big tech or big corporations forget that the little person has a memory span more than 5 minutes. So let's get into this, shall we? This comes from John F. Trent in Bounding into Economics. Shout out to both. So yeah, Warner Media and Anna Sarnoff recently condemned toxic Snyder Cut fans. In an interview with Variety discussing the Snyder Cut, and the future of DC films, Variety's Brent Lang asked, "There's also been a toxic side to the fandom with reports that critics and some of your executives have received threats for not endorsing the Snyder Cut or being perceived as standing in the way of its release. What's your reaction to that behavior?" And so she goes to say, if I could just get through all these ads, Jesus. Sarnoff responding, "We're not tolerating any of that. That behavior is reprehensible no matter what franchise you're talking about or what business you're talking about. It's completely unacceptable." Now, I can agree with that. She continued, "I'm very disappointed in the fans that have chosen to go that negative place with regard to DC. With regard to some of our executives, it's just disappointing because we want this to be a safe place to be." That's where we're starting to get into the questionable stuff because, we'll continue. You see, the Warner Media CEO went on, "We want DC to be a fandom that feels safe and inclusive. Oh, dear God. We want people to be able to speak up for the things they love. But we don't want it to be a culture of canceling things that any small faction isn't happy with." Are you fucking kidding me? You didn't want the Snyder Cut, you dumbass. You honestly think that we're gonna believe this shit? You're literally calling for people to move on. Now that the Snyder Cut's out, we're gonna move on. No, we want the Snyder Cut to continue. We actually want to see where the universe goes from there. Sarnoff concluded, "We're not about that. We're about positivity and celebration." Oh, you are you? Smirnoff is right that people should not be sending threats to executives for not endorsing the Snyder Cut or being perceived as standing in the way of its release. That's not only unacceptable, that is just plain wrong. No ifs, ands, or buts about that. However, Sarnoff's comments about wanting DC fandom to be safe and inclusive might be one of the most hypocritical and contradictory statements given. She and Warner Media hired Ta-Nehisi to write the next Superman movie. Yeah, Ta-Nehisi, people. Just to give you some background onto who this idiot is, he is one of the most extremist and racist people in the United States today. Coates is an extreme radical who has advocated for reparations in the Atlantic. He wrote in 2014, "An America that looks away is ignoring not just the sins of the past, but the sins of the present and the certain sins of the future. More important than any single check cut to any African American, the payment of reparations should represent America's maturation out of the childhood myth of its innocence into a wisdom worthy of its founders." There's only one problem. Reparations are not going to anyone who was a slave. Nobody has been a slave in this country for for almost 200 years. Just saying. These people are idiots. And Coates makes it clear that the reparations means charging all Americans with a crime. He writes, "The crime with which reparation activists charge the country implicates more than just a few towns or corporations. The crime indicts the American people themselves at every level. And in nearly every configuration, a crime that implicates the entire American people deserves its hearing in the legislative body that represents them." This man basically wants to kill any and every person in America that had anything to do with slavery, but he also wants to kill those who didn't have anything to do with slavery because, well, they're American and they're white. Not only is Coates a radical activist, but in an article published in January of this year, he described President Trump as, well, we're not even getting into that. In his book, Between the World and Me, he also wrote, "White America is a syndicate arrayed to protect exclusive power to dominate and control our bodies." He would also write about the firefighters and police officers attempting to save people in the aftermath of the terrorist attack on 9/11. He penned, "They were not human to me, black, white, or whatever. They were menaces of nature. They were the fire, the comet, the storm, which could, with no justification, shatter my body." He said that about the police officers and firefighters that went up those stairs to try to save people when the towers were collapsing. This is what Warner Media and Ann Sarnoff are associated with. And they say that they're all about inclusivity and not canceling people. Coates isn't the only radical that Sarnoff's Warner Media has hired. In October, they announced they inked a deal with Black Lives Matter founder Patrisse Cullors, a self-described trained Marxist. Yeah, and it just goes on to her thing. The Black Lives Matter organization advocates to dismantle cisgender privilege and uplift black trans folks, especially black trans women, who continue to be disproportionately impacted by trans antagonistic violence. The group also wants to disrupt the Western prescribed nuclear family structure requirement by supporting each other as extended families and villages that collectively care for one another, especially our children, to the degree that mothers, parents, and children are comfortable. Okay, and Cullors also supports defunding the police. In June, she stated, "The demand of defunding law enforcement becomes a central demand, and with that demand, it's not just about taking away money from the police, it's about reinvesting those dollars into black communities." It sure seems like Warner Media is promoting the cancellation of police families and cisgender privilege, whatever that is. I thought Sarnoff said they were against that. Does kind of make, or this article has a point, doesn't it? It also it's also not new hires. Cartoon Network, a division of Warner Media, promoted racism in a recent PSA where they instruct viewers to see color in contrast to teachings of Dr. Martin Luther King. In his famous "I Have a Dream" speech, King stated, "I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today." However, Cartoon Network rejects this idea and instead demands their viewers see color. Remember when she said she was troubled, fans went to a negative place? Her subsidiaries are actively promoting hateful and negative behavior. And if you want to get specific on canceling, Warner Media actually canceled Gone with the Wind back in June 2020. The company pulled Gone with the Wind from HBO Max following the op-ed written by 12 Years a Slave writer John Ridley in the LA Times. Ridley demanded that the film be taken off the platform, with the headline of the article reading, "Hey HBO, Gone with the Wind romances the horrors of slavery. Take it off your platform for now." You see, yeah, so they give in to the little amount of people that are calling for cancellations. They would take the movie off their platform, although it would return with a trigger warning, and Ridley would be given a Batman comic book to write, so your company's actions prove your words hollow. Yeah, that is true. Definitely. And more recently, Todd Garner, a producer of Mortal Kombat, a Warner Media film, recently detailed they decided to not include Johnny Cage in the film because he's white. Garner stated, "I feel like I was getting to make a movie with a diverse cast. It felt weird to have a white actor, literally Johnny Cage, be the hero of the story." he has been on social media all during, from the time he said that to now, basically saying Johnny Cage is going to be in the second movie. We just didn't want him in the first movie because we wanted to give him his justice. So yes, he said a very stupid thing, Todd Garner, and he's been trying to walk it back ever since. He would also say, I want to make a sequel, and I've now got Johnny Cage, which hasn't been used in the first one, so I have a big stick and carrot that maybe they'll let me have a Johnny Cage real presence in the second one. And secondarily, when you think about Mortal Kombat, if you just think about the patina of the movie, it has a very Asian feel to it, and I, early on, felt uncomfortable having white male lead kind of lead that charge in that movie. Not your best moments there, dude. And he's been walking these things back ever since. You aren't about safe, or Warner Media isn't about safe and inclusive place, or being a safe and inclusive place. Especially when you're hiring people to defund the police. You're against a culture of canceling things when you have actively participated in it. And it's hard to say you are about positivity and celebration when you want to dismantle families and hire someone who thinks the President of the United States is a white supremacist and whatnot. That's not positivity nor celebration. Here's the thing, folks. They also hired somebody who literally wants to indict and charge and kill everyone in the United States who is not in agreement or who has perceptively wronged the black community in one way or another, but that way just happens to be them being white. Warner Media seriously needs to think about what the fuck they're saying, and they also need to think about shutting the hell up, because their words are not just hollow, they'll shatter with the slightest bit of counterpoint pressure. Folks, that's going to be the video. Let me know what you think of this article from Bounding into Comics and about the information you have heard coming from Ann Sarnoff. Let me know everything y'all know. And if you like this video, please feel free to like, comment, subscribe, share, all that jazz. This has been Orange Hat Reviews. Catch y'all on the next vid, and until then, stay humble.